As we heard at the end of Yinka's report there, 10 years after the attacks on the magazine, 3/4 of French people polled say they do support the right to caricature, in an apparent victory for freedom of expression and, of course, a victory for the magazine itself. Now, France 24's Emerald Maxwell has been looking into a bit more detail of that poll, and she's with me now. Emerald, over to you.
Well, Nadia, it is splashed defiantly across the front page of Charlie Hebdo, 10 years after the horrific attack on it. Of course, indestructible, increvable. It says that 76% of French people support the freedom to caricature. It might surprise some to hear that that's actually more people than supported it before the attacks. As we can see in this poll in 2012, 58% of people agreed that freedom of expression is a fundamental right and that freedom of caricature is part of that. That's compared to 76% in June 2024. Similarly, while in 2012, 35% of people said you can't say and caricature just anything under the guise of freedom of expression. In June 2024, fewer people agreed with that statement, just 24% overall. However, as ever, the devil is in the details. We're going to look a little closer at the survey, which was carried out among a representative 1,000 people, 1,000 French people. And for example, the survey reveals a generational disparity on this question. While just 21% of those aged 35 and over say that you can't publish just anything under the guise of freedom of expression, that number actually rises to 32%, or nearly a third of people under 35. The survey also asked whether people were in favour of the freedom to criticise or poke fun at religion, which is protected in a July 1881 French law. Again, the number of people who approved of the law has actually gone up since 2012 from 50% to 62%, while those against it has fallen from 50% to 38%. And this does seem to show the important legacy of Charlie Hebdo and a society that's increasingly in tune with its long-standing fight for the right to criticize or poke fun at just about anything or everything. And that spirit is also reflected in what French people think about the New York Times decision in 2019 to cease publishing political cartoons. That came after one of its cartoons caused uproar, was accused of being anti-Semitic. Only 34% of French people approve of this decision, while 66% disapprove. However, once again, there is a generational disparity on this question. We can see that 42% of under 35s approve of the New York Times decision and only 29% of over 65s. So overall, yes, the headline figure is rosy, you could say it that way, for the freedom of caricature, the freedom of expression. And French people do still seem very attached to this right. But the tide looks like it could be turning, with young people more inclined to protect sensitivities at the expense of freedom of expression. And another difference we see, and perhaps unsurprisingly, support for the freedom to caricature or to blaspheme actually falls among religious people. 53% of Muslims and 59% of Catholics say they are in favour of this freedom, and that's compared to 3/4 of French people overall.